Welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, the show by fans for fans of your Milwaukee Brewers.
All right, Brewer fans, welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast. This is Craig. Joining me today is Vince.
Hey, Craigers. How are you? Hey, Scotty. Hey, Chad.
All right, we'll be talking some Brewer baseball today with whoever would like to join us. So here we are approaching the All-Star break, and we're going to talk about some possible All-Star candidates for the Milwaukee Brewers, or maybe that shouldn't be plural, but anyway, also the Brewers here are still in neck and neck here for the top of the division as we speak here on June 26, 2023. Just came off of taking two of three on the road from the Cleveland Indians. And now we've got a big week coming up still on the road with 4 games in New York against the Mets, and of course 3-game set in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. And then we come back home, the Brewers do for some games against the Cubs and the Reds, and we play the Reds a couple of series in July, both home and away. And yeah, those should be good ones because as of right now, we are currently neck and neck with the Reds of all teams for the division lead.
Yeah.
They ripped off 11-game winning streak that came to an end this weekend, but they've got their franchise icon Joey Votto back in the fold. And I don't know what at this point. I guess I'll start by saying, what's your take on, besides the Cardinals, rank the NL Central teams in order of your concern as far as battling the Brewers for the division title from this point forward?
Well, my concern for this year is still the Cardinals, actually. I just don't want to sleep on them too much. They've proven me wrong too many times in September, including another really good Brewers years like 2011, for me to take them lightly, no matter how many losses they get. So every loss that they get, it's more exciting, but still, I don't want to take them for granted. Going forward, though, I mean, I will say this. I think that the Reds are for real in terms of their talent level. I think that Ellie De La Cruz is a really interesting, unique talent. His skill set is, quite frankly, awesome. I wish that we had him. And he's exciting. He's exciting for baseball. So I think long term, it could be that the Reds are the team that the Brewers are going to have to worry about the most. I don't really worry a ton about the Cubs or their young talent, to be totally frank. That the only thing with them is that they're a franchise that can always spend money. So you never know who they're going to add, but they've tended to spend money foolishly. So I'd say that the Reds and the Pirates both have a lot of talent. It's good, as weak as everyone talks about this division being, it's actually a pretty exciting division, I think, going forward, because hopefully the Brewers continue to see an influx of talent coming from our system. Obviously this year we've introduced a number of guys to the major league between Terang and Weimer and Garrett Mitchell getting regular at bats until his injury, and I think Sal Frelick is coming up, and I think Jackson Chourio is going to be exciting. So we've got a lot of young talent in our organization, but I think that every team can make a claim that they can be competitive within the next year. I mean, that's how good this division is. On some weird level, despite the bad record this season is actually exciting.
Yeah, I agree with most of your points. Again, I guess no offense to Pirates and Cubs fans, but my main concerns are the Reds and the Cardinals now in that order. I mean, the Cardinals have been they're still, having a pretty bad season overall, and the Reds just have that influx of young talent, like you said, De La Cruz, and now they got the Joey Votto back in the fold, who's been injured for most of the year, and some of their young starters. I know Hunter Green just went on the IL, but and they still have Nick Lodolo on the IL too. So they have a lot of talent on the IL. So if they can hang around even until those guys get healthy, I think we'd be in trouble. Or I mean, they're going to pose a lot of trouble. And
Andrew Abbott has looked for real too in the Reds rotation. I know he pitched one of those games against us, but Andrew Abbott, I think, is going to be a legitimate frontline starter going forward as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So they've got a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, so to speak. So yeah, I'm very concerned now that we're chasing them from behind. So with that being said, this is an exciting time of year for a lot of reasons. Here in Milwaukee, obviously Summerfest is going on. For home games are on the docket all the time. And you've got summer baseball. We're having the All-Star game, which is always a cool, summer classic. That's the best All-Star game in all of sports, hands down, and it's always cool.
Sure.
So obviously I love the Major League Baseball since they implemented, making sure that every team is represented at All-Star game. That's always cool, especially for young kids. I think that was a cool rule. I'm glad that they've stuck with. With that being said, I think it's going to heavily benefit the Brewers this year because looking at the roster and what the players have done, like who is your name your top 3 candidates of Brewers who might be named All-Stars if you had a ballot?
I'm gonna actually go ahead and predict, make my official prediction right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that the Brewers have 2 All-Stars this year.
Okay.
And I think those 2 are Devin Williams and Christian Yelich.
Interesting. Well,
I think that Christian Yelich is really making a case to be at least in the conversation for comeback player of the year. I don't think he's going to get it. I don't think he's quite there yet, but he's had a really good month. He's sitting at a 363 OBP. He's got 9 home runs on the year, 270 batting average. These are not the Christian Yelich MVP numbers from 2018, but they are, I think, good enough numbers that if it weren't for his contract, people would be much more excited about Christian Yelich and his production right now.
Yep, absolutely. Looking over the Brewers' offensive stats overall, it is really sad, and it shows just how terribly the Brewers front office has constructed this team offensively. But I mean, they literally only have 2 regular players hitting over 250, and that's Christian Yelich sitting at 270, and of all people, Owen Miller, I think, is at 283 or something like that. And again, he's been slumping. So just pretty horrific overall. We have a lot of our regulars hitting under 220. Brian Anderson, Willie Thomas, Rowdy Tellez, Joey Weimer. And again, I'm old school throwing out averages or whatever. But I mean, there is a player in the league that's flirting with 400. So these averages are unacceptable right now in the NL. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I will say that I don't think he's quite all-star worthy in terms of his offensive production, but I do think that William Contreras, who's hitting 246 according to Scotty's intern here, is also somebody that I think, given his position, we can look at as being a positive contributor overall on offense. So I hope that he can bump it up to a little higher than a 246 batting average. His 338 OBP can be bumped up a little bit as well. But I think that given his position, I'm fairly happy with Contreras' first half. He's got 8 home runs, 25 RBIs, so it's certainly serviceable for a catcher. And I do think that he's continuing to improve as well. So I kind of view his stock as on the rise.
Oh, absolutely. And he, like you said, with his on-base percentage, he has great stats for a catcher. Probably not all-star worthy, unfortunately, but definitely solid all the way around. And really our biggest get, so to speak, when giving up Josh Hader, obviously we flipped Esteury Ruiz for him, but really having a solid hitting catcher like that is really valuable to any Major League Baseball team and highly sought after. So that is at least one good thing that came out of that trade, so to speak. So, but yeah, that being said, I guess those would probably be my top 3 candidates as well. I think that Devin Williams will be the only all-star for the Brewers. He's his ERA is under 2 and has been really lights out for the most part. Obviously, there's some other candidates. So I'd say my second candidate would probably be Contreras, and third would probably be Yelich. I don't think those guys will make it. Obviously, even guys like, Yoel Payamps has had a pretty great year for us, out of the bullpen, but usually those setup guys don't really make it, generally speaking. But yeah, I would think that's probably what it's going to come down to. Obviously, we're looking at our starting pitching, which is, really been pretty solid overall. Corbin Burns, his ERA is over 4. That's uncharacteristic of him. Freddie Peralta, same deal. And then really our best starter has been Wade Miley, but he's missed a good chunk of time. He's still 5
I love hearing you say that. Awesome.
5-2 with a 2.91 ERA. He's kind of hands down our best starter so far this year. Unbelievable. Eric Lauer is not even, in the minor leagues at this point. But
yeah, that actually should be pointed out really quick as I'll I think just mention that Eric Lauer has left the team in AAA, and apparently for medical reasons that are currently not being talked about publicly. So I guess we're going to get some information. We'll try to work through our anonymous source, Tom Carter, to figure out exactly what's going on with Eric Lauer, but still no word from our anonymous source, Tom Carter, yet on that one.
Oh yeah, TC. Remember to say
Yeah.
TC and not his first.
Oh,
He said no longer use his first or his last name because.
So we have to call him Eric L. or E. Lauer?
Oh no, I'm talking about Tom C.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good. Yep.
And I do stand corrected. No offense to Wade Miley, but I guess actually Julio Teheran officially has been our best starter as of late. But
yeah,
no run support for that.
Great.
But it will be great to get Brandon Woodruff back at some point in the second half. That would be a huge shot in the arm of this team. But really offensively, I really feel that the Brewers before the trade deadline can add a couple of bats and not really give up the farm, so to speak, and just add some veteran bats that can come in and light some fire under our offense. That'd be great. Or just some of our in-house guys really turning it around, because just overall this is not cutting it. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's
definitely not.
Offense.
No, it's definitely not. And I hope that our organization is kind of seeing the writing on the wall with some of these experiments offensively. I do think that we're going to see Sal Frelick make his Brewers debut at some point here in the next few weeks. Maybe he could be a catalyst for us in the second half. I would like to think that we are going to go out and acquire a couple bats at the deadline. I have maybe a little less faith than you do, given the historic track record of not doing so from the organization. So
yeah,
I'm very hopeful of being proven wrong.
So recently, the Reds were a hot team in the middle of a huge streak and sitting in first place right now in the NL Central. Just cut Will Myers for lack of performance, so to speak. I feel that the Jesse Winker can be put in that same category for the Brewers as someone who's on a 1-year deal right now in the last control. And if you're the Milwaukee Brewers, would you just say, you know what, time to cut bait, let's move on from Jesse Winker, or would you give him a little bit longer of a leash at this point?
Well, I would give him a leash until we have an alternative. So, if we're able to find somebody that can, step in and at least give us that minimum level of production, I'm all for, cutting bait if we can find somebody else.
Well, I mean,
I don't know who that is exactly right now. I wouldn't guess Will Myers. Yeah, I wouldn't want Will Myers, but I do think that the Brewers have shown that they're willing to do that when they cut Luke Voigt, last month. So I think that could happen with Winker as well. I mean, he's got 1 home run, I think, so far on the season. I know he's dealt with a little bit of injuries, but I think he'd be the first to tell you that his production has really been, at below replacement level for quite some time. So I don't know what else to say about that.
No, if you look at his numbers, are terrible. 125 at bats, 1 home run, I think 192 with a 546 OPS. I mean, it's time to cut bait. The guy's terrible, and he's not even good in the clubhouse, from my understanding either. So just it's time to move on. There's someone else available on the waiver wire. Give someone else at bats or whatever. It's just, and yes, I do like Will Myers and think he would immediately be better than Jesse Winker. Obviously, he's a right-hander and Winker is a lefty, but whether or not they do that or if he's interested in coming to our team, I don't know, but we'll see. So
who is out there right now, Craig, that you would replace Winker with? Like who is available?
Will Myers. But as far as out there on the I would even replace him with Jesus Aguilar, but he's now signed with the Braves. So whether or not there's again, I think we need to make a trade. I'd cut him and whatever, give someone else's at bats, and then make a trade to add a veteran soon. So
all right. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know who's going to be available in this market. I have a feeling we're going to set ourselves up for disappointment again on the trade market, but I really hope to be proven wrong. It's just that this is the same thing we've been saying for years, and we may even come to the point where we're sellers this deadline. I certainly am not advocating for that, but I could definitely see that happening. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, Vince and Brewer fans, and stay classy and go Brewers. Okay, go Brewers. Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, Chad. Do, 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 do.